Hello everyone, and welcome to this new moon forecast for June 18th. This is a new moon in Sidereal Gemini, which happens to be also tropical Gemini. This is the lunar mansion Mṛgaśīrṣā. So Mṛg is the deer. One translation is deer. And Şīrṣāsana, if anyone practices yoga, would be familiar with that asana, that pose, headstand. So Şīrṣā is head, so Mṛgaśīrṣā, so deer head. So what the hell does that mean? Well, basically, the symbol of the deer head and the antlers of the deer is symbolic of the mind and its tendency to roam. Its nature is to roam about and to be curious and to explore. And that's very much the nature of Gemini anyway. And I think this lunar mansion epitomizes Gemini really more than anything else. It is split evenly between sidereal Taurus and Gemini, so it's the kind of enjoyments of Taurus, the sensual pleasures of Taurus. It's a very sensual sign. It's said to be a soft lunar mansion, and it is ruled by the god Soma, the moon god. So there's this softness about it, there's this curious nature about it, this innocence about it as well. And so when you think about the mind and its tendency to roam about innocently, curiously, looking about and looking for excitement and stimulation and something new, that can lead to all kinds of enjoyments for sure, and engagements, which is what Gemini is all about. And this is the time of year with the sun in Gemini where we go about more, where we travel about, where we explore, where we enjoy other people's company more. It's festival season, so it's a very enjoyable time, and there's a lot to enjoy in this new moon. The new moon, the sun and moon come together at the very early degrees of Gemini, and they're flanked either side by Mercury in Taurus and Venus in Cancer. So there's absolutely a lot to enjoy about this. But there, as always, are other things to experience as well. There are other issues here. And Mṛgaśīrṣā in the cycles in Indian astrology is associated with Mars. So when somebody has their moon in this lunar mansion, that means they started their life out in the Mars cycle. So Mars has a big say in that kind of, curious nature, sort of forging ahead and traveling about and all of that impetus to move. The thing is that Mars is currently in the moon sign Cancer, where it's said to be debilitated, where it's feeling less motivated and less directed and is sort of a bit more meandering around and not really feeling that kind of direction and focus. And so you might feel that at this time. You might feel, especially during a new moon in Gemini with the Mars in Cancer, that you're not as focused, that it's more scattered. And that could be enjoyable, like I said, if you get engaged in a lot of social interaction. It can be very scattering and the energy can be very all over the place. So it's probably not the most focused time, but it is probably a more enjoyable time. And maybe that's the best thing to do with this new moon. New moons are generally, though, a more withdrawn time, even though this is suggesting some socializing. New moons are more withdrawn. Full moons are generally more outgoing and expressive and engaging. So think about that in terms of getting more balance, I would say. Maybe enjoying some company, but not overdoing it. Maybe planting some seeds of social engagements, maybe putting it in the calendar, maybe just reaching out to engage with people in the future in this upcoming lunar month. But on the day itself, on the new moon, on the 18th of June, perhaps maybe not the best time to actually overdo that kind of social engagement. The other thing about Mṛgaśīrṣā and the moon god Soma is that it emphasizes intoxicants as well. So although it also represents this Soma, this sense of the nectar of immortality, it is called, anything that is extracted from, the essence from something like a herb or a fruit or a plant. It's the Soma of the herb, the fruit, or the plant that we extract and ingest that gives us life. So there's definitely some great connotations there, but there's also the intoxication that is possible, because that's what Soma could also represent, this kind of feeling intoxicated in some way, even if it's not through substance. So we need to be mindful of that, of course, as well, and mindful of its effect on our mind, because essentially all of this comes down to the mind, how the mind engages with these kinds of things. Everyone has their poison, right? But one man's poison is another man's cure, as the saying goes. So it's how we view these things as well, and the dose is important. So in terms of intoxicants, social engagement, interaction, but also mental stimulation. Thinking about all of these things for this new moon will be important in terms of what are you subjecting your mind to. And think about the dose, is what I would say. And enjoy it. There are things there to enjoy, but not to overdo it with the Mars and what it's doing. So I hope you enjoy it. I wish you all the best for this new moon phase, and I'll speak to you for the next major lunation with the full moon in Sagittarius. An important full moon because it's called Guru Purnima. The full moon, Guru being the teacher, a full moon in Sagittarius is very much about honoring our teachers. So until next time.